I'm now delighted to welcome to the stage Rachel Walker, who's Managing Director of Service Transformation for Customer Contact Centers from United Airlines, Andrei Papancea, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, who's from NLX, and Ted Evers from AWS. So welcome guys, welcome to the stage. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. John, you might do that.
So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our session. Today we'd like to talk a little bit about one of the biggest challenges that are facing airlines today, and that of course is managing disruptions and the communications thereof. Now, as we know, often airlines don't hear from customers unless something has gone wrong, but we do have some interesting stories that we'll hear from Andrei as well as Rachel on what they did. And we've already been introduced, but Rachel, I'll start with you. You know, you made a pretty bold move of tackling what is usually a very human touch type of issue, right? Using AI. So can you talk a little bit about the strategy behind that?
Sure, Ted. Is this one working? Yeah, thanks, Ted. So we really thought about, in the travel industry, there's the assumption that when things go wrong and multiple people are impacted, that people just have to wait to get service. Like when there's busy, you just have to get in line and you have to wait. Well, why? Why should we accept that as the normal? And so we challenged that assumption to say, what could we do that could allow customers to get help without having to wait? And that's where we turn to AI and NLX.
That's great. And Andrei, can you talk a little bit about what NLX does, first of all, for those of you who may not be familiar, and how it was leveraged in this particular case?
Oh, really? Okay, it works. In this new world where we all talk to technology, whether over chat or voice, NLX enables any organization, no matter the size, to build and deploy conversational applications. And what's a conversational application? Well, anything from a contact center voice or chat experience to your TV remote at home, if you have a smart TV, to an in-car experience where you can talk. So really, as the world becomes increasingly conversational with technology, NLX is looking to power all of those conversations around us.
So Rachel, what were some of the things that were interesting to you about NLX and their solution and how it merged with your strategy?
So we were looking for an opportunity that could be really different for customers. And there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of different companies out there. And there were a couple of things that really stood out for us initially with NLX. One was their actual technology offering. Both their multimodal or voice plus technology, it was really different, more different than we had seen around. And then second was also their no-code, low-code platform that allows like the business teams to make changes without always having to do like a standard technical release. Those were the two things that really stood out to us in the beginning, and that the technology that they had was, they actually have multiple patents for. And so we knew it was very different and very much a game changer.
That's great. I know, a lot of times deploying new technology, it can depend on your roadmap, so that low-code, no-code environment probably made it a lot more easy to implement. And as you mentioned, some of the business teams were able to do that. So it's great to be able to have a solution, be able to control that solution for something that you're ultimately responsible with. Andrei, can you talk a little bit about the history of the company? You've been working with United about 4 years or so, I think it was. So what was it like for you as sort of a new entrant to the space to approach United, and how did that come about? I'm sure a lot of people will be interested because normally a lot of our airlines might be used to working with players that have been around for a while. So I think it would be helpful both for the airlines as well as the other companies in the audience here to understand that.
Well, ever since we've been around for about 7.5 years now, we're going on 8, and from the very beginning, the market was relatively crowded. So we thought, why try to go for the bottom if we can try and go for the top? Obviously, that's a very challenging thing to do. But part of what drove myself and my other two co-founders to co-found NLX was the experience I had at American Express. I had built their conversational AI platform from the ground up prior to this being, I guess, the center of technology that we're experiencing at the moment. And I had seen at scale what works, what doesn't, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities. And after leaving Amex, I noticed that a lot of what I had solved for and experienced at American Express were not being addressed through the same lens in the market. And that's how NLX came to be.
Yeah, and that made a big difference for us at United, where Andrei understood what it was like to work at a big company and understood the issues we were dealing with, and sometimes things just take longer than we want them to, but that there's a good business case. And so that was also great to have somebody who was in a startup, who could be nimble, who could support us in different ways, but also knew our issues. And then honestly, working with Andrei and the team has been a real pleasure. They have just been an amazing team to work with. They are just really good people. I feel like they are always really focused on solving our problems and not just generating new business for themselves, which it really makes a big difference having a partner that you can trust, but is also really innovative and extremely smart.
Yeah, and so at Amazon, of course, one of our principles is customer obsession, and we work backwards from the customer requirements. And one of the things that's refreshing, and for full disclosure, so United is a customer, NLX is a partner of AWS. We're very proud to have them and fortunate. And working backwards from the customer often for a technology company means the airline. But we all know that the ultimate customer are those passengers, right? And so any type of solution needs to really resonate with the travelers. And United's won the best app. When I'm on my way to the airport, they tell me which door to go to. That's thinking for the passengers, so you can see that thinking coming through. And Andrei, I think we haven't heard a lot about that multimodal aspect, because when we think of contact center modernization, a lot of the solutions may just be a chatbot, or they may be inbound call routing or something like that. But talk a little bit about the multimodal aspect and why that's important in resolving some of these issues.
For one, our platform allows you to deploy chat and voice applications. And then as a couple of years ago, as we were working with various different customers, we realized automation rates kind of taper off around like 20–30%, because that's where most of the informational type of interactions with customers stop, like FAQs, what's my balance, what's my miles balance, et cetera. And reflected back to what a human agent might do in scenarios where use cases might be too complex for a voice-only interface. To kind of use a simple example, think about password reset. You all have accounts and passwords that you forget, and every now and then you have to call up. Now, the challenge with something like password reset is that it's routine, yet too complex for a voice-only interface. You're not going to sit there saying like, oh, my new password is uppercase, this lowercase, that special character. It's impractical, it's insecure. And thinking or reflecting about what the human agent does in that scenario, they're just empathically showing up and then guiding you through what you need to do to complete the task. So we worked backwards, going back to the Amazon ethos. We worked backwards from that concept, and we innovated this technology that allows you to synchronize any voice channel, any audio channel, to what you might see on the screen, whether it's a website, a mobile application, and then the two work in synchrony, where as you're going through the experience as a user, the voice is guiding you on what you need to do next, all the way to task completion or to a point of escalation, whichever is first. And turns out that alone can drive a lot of meaningful impact for people, because sometimes they just need a little bit of guidance or to be reassured that they're in the right place at the right time.
That's great. And Rachel, we talked about some of the more qualitative, I guess, benefits and attributes of what the solution working with NLX has provided. You may not be able to share like exact numbers or whatever. Can you talk to a little bit about what are some of the results? Because it's always nice to have a fancy demo and concept, but it's actually driving results for you, obviously, or you wouldn't be working with them for so long. Can you talk a little bit about what were some of the results that you saw and outcomes from working with NLX?
Yeah, thanks. We've seen amazing results from our partnership with NLX. Their technology has allowed customers to have this really immersive experience because they get a visual and an audio at the same time. And for most of us, speaking and language is actually our first language versus written language. And so customers respond to that. And so if you think about in moments of stress, and most of us probably have moments of stress around travel, people want someone to talk to that feels better, or they want to hear somebody and feel that empathy. And so with the technology with NLX, people can have that. They can have somebody that's walking them through. I'm talking to somebody. It's automation, but it feels like somebody's there with them holding their hand. We also are very focused on quality. We want to make sure that customers are getting what they need, that we don't ever trap them. And even if the NLX automation works perfectly, sometimes customers still want to talk to somebody, and we still give that opportunity. But we have seen significant improvement, and not on easy things. We have done much harder type things. One of the biggest areas is around when people's flights have been delayed or canceled. And we've done this amazing partnership with NLX that people can rebook themselves, do nearby airports. They can get their hotel and meal vouchers. They can even rebook themselves before they've officially misconnected, thinking they might miss their connection. They can do all this great stuff without having to talk to a human, but this automation walks them through it step by step and makes sure that all of their needs are met. And people love it. The type of feedback we get, we see it in the numbers, both what we see people going through full automation and not needing to go to human, and through the customer satisfaction scores are extremely high. And we see it on the comments we get of people saying like, I usually hate chatbots or I hate automation. This was amazing. We really see some amazing feedback from customers who just are like, I had to go figure out who was doing this with you because I've just never had an experience like this. We've seen some great stuff, and it's been very encouraging, and we're excited to continue to expand it.
That's great to hear. And this happened as volumes are increasing, right? So you're able to maintain that experience, that customer satisfaction, as well as optimizing your operations and routing those calls or those queries to the right and the appropriate channel. And one of the things in speaking with Andrei and Rachel prior to this was, I didn't hear anything like you do typically in the industry, which is kind of, call avoidance or containment and words like that. It was really, looking to flip the script and think about how you can engage customers more on their terms, giving them what they want, but also obviously providing some benefit to you. So it's really encouraging to see how you can deploy AI and technology to both increase that customer satisfaction while improving on the business economics and the operational flow as well. So I don't know if either of you care to comment on that strategy, because it is really kind of a sea change when we think about for so many decades we were all talking about how can we drive lower calls. We don't want to have more calls, but now it's almost as if you could encourage that because you have the automation to handle that scale. And even Andrei, I think early on in the company, a lot of some of your other case studies where you were able to handle significant volumes and spikes. And can you talk a little bit about that? Like, how do you think about when those events happen where you have a spike in usage? I don't know if either of you want to mention that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can take the first bit, but effectively for one, thank you for the infrastructure. It scales. It's just given based on how it's engineered and having a reliable infrastructure partner such as AWS. But then there's the other portion where the platform, the product's been engineered for high degrees of complexity. Going back to, working early on with United Airlines. I don't know how much you remember this, but we basically challenged you to give us some of your hardest use cases because we knew nobody else was able to solve those, and we've engineered the platform to allow us to solve very complex use cases, and that's typically the point where we start. And going back to the earlier metrics I was citing, right? They're like 20, 30% of the volumes, like FAQs, informational stuff, let's call it. And the rest are tied to transactional things, like business processes. And those are typically the hardest things to automate. So unsurprisingly, the largest part of the volume is tied to things that are very difficult to automate. And basically, we love to live in that part of the world. It's fun to solve challenging problems.
Yeah, I would just finally at the end say we really been focused on customer experience, and so we don't like using words like containment. We think about how long do customers have to wait to get help, and are they getting the help they need to continue their journey? And so that's how we think about it. That's how we've structured it. That's how we measure it. And that's where we've seen huge improvement, not just from the work with NLX, but across our entire company as we've gone after these types of events. How do we allow customers not to have to wait long? And we have seen a huge improvement.
It's wonderful. We're just about at time here. So one last quick question for both of you as a takeaway for everyone here. If they're just getting started on this journey of transforming how they're interacting with customers at scale, what advice or takeaways or lessons would you like to share with them?
The two things I would say are really understanding what you're offering and how it's truly differentiated and what you're really good at. NLX doesn't do everything, and so I really appreciated they didn't come in and say, I can do everything for you. They were like, this is what we do really good, and this is why you need us. That is huge, and so understanding that piece. And then number two is understanding how to work with big companies that have a lot of, just take longer to do things and what that starts to look like, and having that patience to work with us.
And just very quick, I was having a tangential conversation about something like this last night. First of all, start, right? Your journey might be from not necessarily A to Z, but maybe A to M, N, O, P. Just start from A to B as fast as you can and pick the right technology partners, whether they're internal or external, doesn't matter. But pick something that allows you to test and learn fast. If you don't test and learn and iterate fast in this market, you're not going to be able to drive anything to production. So I'll just leave it to that.
Andrei, one last thing. Was I supposed to advance a slide? Because I'll just have to give you a public apology.
Press green and see what happens.
If we didn't show NLX up there. No. Please, a round of applause for Andrei and Rachel.
Thank you.